Welcome back from the break, Ram fans, and to the waiver wire, where I give you all the fantasy football tips required to take home the trophy in your league. Hopefully, you took my advice from last week because Mac Jones had a season-best 22 fantasy points against the dismal New York Jets defense, acting as that perfect replacement to use if your QB was on a bye. But if you missed out last week, don't worry. Like always, I'm back with 3 more guys to snag for Week 8. Let's start in Philadelphia with Eagles running back Kenneth Gainwell, who replaced Miles Sanders after he suffered an ankle injury in the first quarter of yesterday's game against the Raiders. After receiving his opportunity, the rookie from Memphis didn't disappoint, going for 61 total yards and a touchdown on 9 touchdowns. And after being carted off yesterday, I really don't expect Miles Sanders to come back anytime soon, meaning Gainwell should get lead back duties until Sanders can return to the field. It's also good to note that Boston Scott had 1 more carry than him, but Gainwell's receiving ability gives him a lot more fantasy value, being targeted 8 times in the pass game yesterday and catching 4 of them for 41 yards and a score. I'd pick him up as soon as possible because fantasy owners of Sanders are going to make their claim for number 14 super fast. And hey, take it from me, I have Sanders in 2 of my leagues and I already made my move for the rookie on the waiver wire. Right now, I'll put Gainwell as a borderline RB1 in Week 8 against the Detroit Lions, who allow the most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Keeping it in the NFC, my next fantasy sleeper is Green Bay Packers wideout Allen Lazard. For the first 5 weeks, he was really quiet with only 7 catches. But in the last 2 games, he has 8 receptions for 87 yards and, most importantly for fantasy, 2 touchdowns. In Week 6 against Chicago, Lazard racked up 11.7 fantasy points, and yesterday against Washington, he put up exactly 17 fantasy points. At this point, Lazard has made it clear that he's the number 2 receiver on this high-powered offense, and with the Packers loving to move the ball in the air, he'll have a lot of fantasy volume. His next matchup is a tough one against the undefeated Arizona Cardinals, but the 3 following are very favorable matchups, with the Packers battling the Chiefs, Seahawks, and Vikings, who all struggle against the pass. At the very least, Lazard is worth a spot on your bench, simply because of all of the bye weeks coming up. Right now, he's only owned in 4% of the leagues, but I think that number is going to skyrocket due to his last 2 performances. My last fantasy pick is also an NFC wide receiver in the pass-first offense. I'm, of course, talking about Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Russel Gage, who was a popular preseason sleeper, but an ankle injury killed all of his hype. He finally returned to the field in Week 7 and immediately made his presence known by catching 4 of 6 targets for 67 yards and a score. With this type of impact, he figures to be the Falcons' number 3 target, but given how often Atlanta throws, there's still plenty of potential value there. Not to mention that the Falcons usually play from behind thanks to their terrible defense, meaning more passing opportunities for the speedy wideout. Gage has an flex upside against a struggling Carolina defense in Week 8 and has the opportunity to be a wide receiver too in certain matchups. And with him only being owned in 4% of leagues, you should have no problem picking him up on waivers. I truly believe Gage can be a diamond found in the rough in the coming weeks. I pick him up now in return for your worst player so you can receive the best possible value for his services. And well, those are my 3 fantasy picks for tonight's show. But if you want to see some more players to pick up on waivers, check out my weekly article for the Collegian, which is published online on Wednesdays and in print on Thursdays. But don't go away just yet. Ella's back to get you caught up on the Denver Nuggets' dominant 2-0 start to the NBA season and so much more. We'll be right back.